Hi everybody, welcome back to the Stickbot channel. In today's video, I will be ranking every single episode of French with Fred. As the Frenchest sticktuber, I feel like I'm pretty qualified to do this. I've been seeing tons of videos going around on the YouTubes of people ranking every episode of one specific thing, and I figured I'd try my hand at doing that for a Stickbot Central series with French with Fred. There are 19 episodes of French with Fred from what I know of. I used the playlist on Stickbot Central, which will also be linked in the description if you're interested in watching. I'll be ranking all of the episodes, not including the trailer, the ad they did for the action pack, or the times he was on the Stickbot show. So with all that garbage out of the way, without further ado, let's get into the ranking. Starting off with number 19, Evil Fred. So this one sucks. It's technically the most recent one we've gotten, and it was the last French with Fred content to come out. They made this for the action pack, and because of that, they used the Fred and the accessories from the action pack, which they're not bad when you put them in the perspective of the product, but off the grid with the off the grid action pack accessories wouldn't be the same, let's put it that way. It is uncanny, like watching it and seeing the designs. I mean, Assistant doesn't have his apron, Fred's apron looks goofy, his hat looks incredibly goofy. The animation was bad. It wasn't bad per se, but it wasn't good. It wasn't French with Fred good. It wasn't funny. It was 7 minutes of just whatever. It ends like 2 times. The episode ends, and then there's this whole weird subplot of evil Assistant taking Assistant, and then Fred has to get him back. And then they set up a sequel, and it was this whole thing. There was a shot where they cut away, and Stickbot was filming. I don't know if this was when the Stickbot show was over. That might technically be connected to the lore of the Stickbot morning show and stuff like that. I don't know. Kind of don't care. The animation at times wasn't synced properly. That was kind of weird.
No, no paprika. Maybe some more salt? Salt? No, no salt. I know. You want the disgusting American food? Les hamburgers? Oui, les hamburgers.
Clearly it was rushed. I think French with Fred might have been one of the things they outsourced for someone to animate. So either they animated it with the current Stickbot Central team, well not current, but the team at the time, or they had the guy do another episode with the new products. And because the set looks similar, just kind of different. It's so weird. You just watch it. If you've watched it, you already know what I mean. But if you haven't watched it, you don't know what I mean. It's so bad. I felt the need to point this out, but Assistant has this goofy walk. He has the definition of a devious ASF walk as he walks away from this truck, and it looks goofy. The only good things about this was that it was new Fred content after, I don't know if it was a full year. That's technically a plus, but honestly, I don't think I would want new French with Fred content when it's bad. And the only other good thing this whole episode is Evil Fred dies because he slipped on a banana, and it comes out of nowhere, and it got a little chuckle out of me, but that's it. That's those only redeeming qualities, and I kind of want to move on to the number 18, soup. So in this one, Fred wants to make soup. He's putting the ingredients in, and then he gets to the milk, and it's not milk. It's some radioactive substance that opens a portal, and then like a tentacle comes out and attacks him, and then it just kind of ends. It's like 30 seconds. I don't think it's actually 30 seconds, but it feels so short and almost meaningless. I was watching it, and the episode just kind of happened. It wasn't bad or anything, but there wasn't anything to really make me go like, oh, that's a good French with Fred. The only thing of note was what soup would need milk. I know there are soups that probably would put milk or some sort of cream in there, but it's a large quantity of milk. It's not actually milk. Like I said, it's a radioactive substance, but the amount of that substance he puts into the soup, no amount of milk should ever go in any soup, okay? It could have been like broth. Why weren't they like, alright, and now we will add the chicken broth? But no, it was milk. What soup needs milk? That is the most memorable thing about that episode, which says why it's in the number 18 spot out of 19. It wasn't Evil Fred bad, but it wasn't really good either. In the number 17 position, we have Filet Mignon. All I have here in my notes is that I didn't get the point, because I kind of didn't. The episode, it just kind of went by. Fred is at home watching TV when there is an ad or news people or something. They're talking about, wow, French with Fred sucks. He never makes any food. So Fred goes to the kitchen and makes a filet mignon in like 10 seconds. And then a crab comes and takes it as a callback to the first French with Fred. I think it's the first French with Fred. And, yeah, then it ends. I know that sounds reasonable, but there wasn't anything, like, really funny to it. There weren't any jokes. There wasn't too much French with Fredness in it. That it just, I don't know. It's better than soup, but it's not good. So it gets number 17. In the number 16, we have pie. Again, not much to talk about. It's the same as filet mignon. In this one, Fred makes a pie, but he burns it, and then they try to get the pie out of the pie tin using some goofy methods. And there wasn't anything particularly funny. Kind of generic-ish stuff of something being too hard, and a character has to try and get it to break in some way, and they didn't do anything particularly unique or funny with it, and it wasn't too memorable, in my humble opinion, so it stays in number 16. In number 15, we have Le Crab. This seemed to be the first French with Fred, so I'm giving it some slack for that. The voice acting was not on point. Fred and Assistant, they don't sound like my friend Assistant. They're not all there. And there weren't really, like, jokes. I thought that the crabs fighting back was kind of funny, because they all had really bad French accents.
I've escaped your wretched plan. My people will not be cooked any longer. Attaquez!
But that was near the end, and it was like a second, and yeah. It was also kind of too short. It was another one that just kind of happened, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think a French with Fred that is just the perfect length. It gets its jokes in, and it gets out is good. But this was not one of those times. Again, get slack for being the first. I like to see its roots, but other than that, it's just not that good. In the number 14 position, we have Pizza. This one, Gigi, the chef from the rival cooking show on Foodbot Central, comes over to Fred's show to cook a pizza in a competition. And yeah, straight up, Gigi kind of sucks. Fred is a pacifist in this. He's not very antagonistic. He's just trying to enjoy a show. And instead of it being like, Gigi is kind of like a self-confident chef who has a popular show, so he's self-confident, but he's not too rude, and Fred is jealous. Fred is just kind of trying to do his thing, and Gigi is just kind of taking over the whole thing and being mean. I don't remember it being that way. I'm glad it's not that generic in a sense. And it was a good dynamic. But it was, as far as French with Fred goes, it was kind of slowly paced. They kind of just took their time with everything, which, in my opinion, really didn't work. And there weren't really too many jokes. It was a tad bit funny, but it wasn't anything particularly special. So it stuck in 14. Now that is it for the episodes that I didn't like at all. Now we're getting into the episodes that are good, flat out good, in my opinion, and I like them. In number 13, we have Scrambled Eggies. For my notes here, I just put good. That's it, just good. Because that's what it is. Fred is making some dish. Yeah, I forgot, but it's scrambled eggs, or scrambled eggies, as he calls them. He has a very thick accent. I can relate to these American language hurdles when I moved here from France. What was I saying? Oh yeah, and he ran out of eggs. He had 2 eggs, but he actually needed 3. So he's like, "Assistant, grab me an egg." I can't do it. I can't do the Fred voice. He's like, "Assistant, get me an egg." And he brings in a xenomorph egg, and a face hugger pops out. And I thought it was going to be a classic Assistant has to save Fred from a monster that's attacking him. But the face hugger, it just kind of pops out and then bonds with Assistant. And they go on a little walk through the park. They do a classic little montage, and it's good stuff. And then they find out that the face hugger belongs to someone and it's missing. So they return it to its alien dad. And yeah, it wasn't particularly funny, which I've complained about before in this list, but it didn't need to be funny. It served its purpose, and it wasn't bad at all. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't funny. I know I just said that wasn't a problem, but that's kind of why it's not higher on the list. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything particularly amazing. So it's stuck in number 13. But number 12, we have an iconic French with Fred episode, in my opinion at least. We have Salsa. I have a newfound appreciation for this episode. I thought the whole assistant being obsessed with salsa thing was funny as a kid. But now that I know how important salsa is to making a good dish and how delicious it is, I understand where he's coming from. Truly. It's just an iconic episode. It's good. It's funny. His little salsa dance at the end, very goofy stuff. It's a good, solid French with Fred episode. Nothing particularly crazy special. Why is Epoch DMing me? But the downsides are Assistant Salsa outfit looks weird. I've had this thing where a lot of Stickbot Central customs will have the neck part of the outfit be underneath where the cord goes into the torso, instead of it being where it's cut off in the torso, which is what I do with my customs. With like, if there's a shirt, it'll go into that area, and it looks awkward, especially because it just cuts off, and it's even worse because there's just a random hair in the middle of the chest. But you can kind of see past that. And another thing, it's not as good on rewatch. I used to love this one. I remember it being iconic, but with my advanced intellect and movie reviewing prowess, it wasn't as solid to me. I did enjoy it, like I said, but it wasn't as good as I remember. In the number 11, we have Halloween. This is another one that's just good. It was more solidly good. It actually had some funny jokes in it, but it wasn't crazy good, let's put it that way. It's a very neutral episode. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't, high tier stuff. In the number 10 position, we have Thanksgiving. It just kind of happened. It was good French with Fred. It was some good stuff. Fred needs to cook a Thanksgiving turkey, so assistant brings in a turkey, and he's gonna kill it, but the turkey rebels, and his turkey brethrens kidnap him, take him to the woods, and then assistant has to save him, and then they go away. And it was just kind of funny. It was good. It didn't overstay its welcome. It was a good episode. It feels like what Le Crab was trying to do, but with proper execution this time, and I can appreciate it for that. So it's kind of like Halloween, where it wasn't anything crazy, but it was good stuff, and I enjoyed watching it. In the number 9 spot, we have Minions. This one is another solid one, but a more so solid one. It was, funny. Not as funny as others, but it was one of the longer ones. At first, when I was watching some of the earlier ones, I was like, wow, French with Fred really strives when it's at a shorter format. But no, when it's longer and fleshed out, it works really well. In this one, Gigi and Fred are having a competition to see who can make the best pancake minion. This is like the most 2016 YouTube video, crap right here. But it's played completely ironically, so it's fine, don't worry. And it's good. It was just a solid episode. I kind of started over, didn't I? The news text during the news segments, because for whatever reason, they just have news anchors talking about the show all the time. Can they not think of anything else? And they're kind of commentating over what Fred and Gigi are doing. And it's not particularly unfunny, but it wasn't crazy funny. But the text underneath is some classic stuff. It's so funny. I've read it so many times. Every time I watch the episode, I make sure to read it. And it's pretty funny stuff. Also, Assistant is strapped in this episode. Fred's like, Assistant, get me the tranquilizer. And Assistant just walks in with a rocket launcher. I thought that was funny. And then he also gives Fred a Fortnite action figure pump shotgun for the tranquilizer. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention why he needs a tranquilizer. As Fred was making the pancake, he accidentally created a minion monster that's just running around, so he needs to trank it. But instead he misses and shoots Gigi, and then Assistant uses Gigi as a dummy to make it so that even though Gigi won the contest, he gives his winnings to Fred. Then the minion attacks the news station, and it's funny, goofy stuff. Again, good episode. Only complaint is that hair in my mouth. I think it was mine though, so I'm fine. eBay haul flashbacks.
Oh, massive hair. I don't even think, you can see it. Massive hair.
The news anchors have these suits on, but their belt is halfway through the torso, I'm getting like customizer anxiety from that. It's weird. It looks weird. It's printed on, like not printed, but it's on a printed piece of paper. It's weird. Little nitpick, doesn't matter, but it's a nitpick. In the number 8 position, we have Spaghetti and Meatball. This one, it's pretty funny, pretty solid stuff. Not really much to complain about. So Fred is making spaghetti, and he needs the meatballs. So assistant brings in this mutant meatball, and he's like, I went to the supermarché.
I was at le supermarché getting the meatball.
Thick accent, man. Supermarché. And there was some homeless guy sitting outside the supermarket. And he's like, I'll trade you your meatballs for my magic meatball. And then he lists all the things, but of course the assistant wasn't listening and he just wants the magic meatball. This is so goofy. I love French with Fred so much. And then, of course, the meatball explodes. And there's spaghetti everywhere. Yeah. It was just a solid French with Fred. It was funny. It was a good time. Nothing crazy to say about it, but it was good. And then number 7, we have ice cream. In this one, Fred needs to make some ice cream, but he doesn't have any milk. He needs milk because milk is like the main ingredient to ice cream. So I don't remember how it goes particularly, but I'm pretty sure it's like, assistant, bring me the cow to get the milk. And he's like, oui. And then he brings in a cow, and they try to figure out how to make milk, and then they bring in another cow, but it's actually a pig. It was just funny. It was good stuff. The only downside to this episode was there was a fart joke. And I personally didn't mind it, but I feel like I need to mention there was a fart joke there. In the number 6 position, we have Wish Come True. Now here we're getting to the really good French with Fred episodes in my humble sticktuber goose that stickbot opinion. Here we have in the number 6 position, I'm kind of lost right now, Wish Come True. In this one, Fred is trying to make a chocolate cake, but when he goes to put the oil in, you know, it's a genie lamp, and you know what happens. The genie comes over, and it is some funny stuff. Assistant being goofy, Fred being goofy, Fred asks for he asks for 100 assistants to make the job easier, and they just trample him, and it's kind of funny. And this episode made me realize Assistant sounds like a Fall Guy whenever he makes noises. He was a Fall Guy before Fall Guys, and it's kind of weird. The other thing is the genie. I didn't really enjoy his personality too much, but I can get past that. It was really the voice that I didn't like.
I am the keeper of wishes, the pinnacle of all desire.
But other than that, it was a really good French with Fred episode. In the number 5 position, we have another iconic one, JJ and P. This one, like, the amount of times I've said, hello, and welcome to French with Fred. Today, we are making JJ and P. It's funny. It's funny. If you don't think it's funny, you got to get your humor brain fixed, because you are wrong. In this one, Fred wants to make a JJ and P, but is constantly interrupted by ads. I love how the simplest thing for him to make, and he sold out because he doesn't make any money and needs to buy ingredients to continue his show. So it's just constant advertisements all the time, and it is interdimensional cable from Rick and Morty, except actually funny. There are, like 3 commercials that they did. One is for a bowl hat. It is soup. Like, it's a bowl for soup, but you put it in your head. It wasn't particularly funny, like really funny, I mean, but it was funny. It was good stuff. And then, of course, we have the we have the tireless bot wheels. Just a car without wheels. That one was funny. And at the end there was Better Call Bot. It was a stick bot. He's like, have you been injured because you can't play video games because you don't have thumbs or something stupid like that? It was funny. And it was funny. What? And his kitchen is just covered in dumb advertisements. It was a good episode. It was just a good episode. Watch it. It's funny. In the number 4 position, we have How to Make Sushi. This one almost made it into the top 3, almost, but there are just 3 that I think are funnier than this one. This one's another classic. I think it is a solid episode. It is just the perfect length. Doesn't overstay its welcome. It is plenty hilarious, and it just happens. It's good. It's really good. The animation especially was fantastic and unique. They don't do stuff like that too often at Stickbot Central. Fred wants to make sushi, so they go out to the ocean to get a fish, but he gets pulled in the water and he gets chased by the fish, and it's funny. And then he does get a fish eventually, and it's a clay fish. It looks kind of weird. I like it though. And then they go back and then they cut it up and it's just kind of over. Like, I'm okay with the goal being reached, being the end point, and it just kind of ending and being funny. But not when the stuff to get there was pointless, like in a filet mignon. This was just a really solid, really funny, really good French with Fred episode. And again, the water animation, although not anything particularly unique, it was done really well. And it still holds up really well. It just looked really good, especially for the time. So I think it deserves at least number 4. And now, the top 3 on the ranking. In the number 3 position, we have Le Hamburger. The hamburger. We have hamburger. This one is so good. Fred is going to make a hamburger, but as the cultured French people they are frankly disgusted by this fatty, greasy American food. It is just gross. Actually, Fred doesn't even make the hamburger. Assistant just brings him one, and I guess he was going to talk about it. I don't know. But he tries it, and he falls in love. This one is salsa. This is what salsa wanted to be. This one is so good. This gave me the wallpaper for one of my laptops. It's so funny. Fred falls in love with the hamburger. It's good. This is a good French with Fred. It is extremely funny. In the number 2 position, we have How to Pass a Health Inspection. This one feels longer than it is, but it is the perfect length again. And it's just funny. It doesn't take its time. It goes right into the meat. Fred is, I don't know what he's going to cook, but a health inspector shows up. And he's like, wow, this place is disgusting. You gotta close down. And then he walks away. He's like, you have a week before we shut down your operation to get your stuff out of here. So Fred and Assistant sneak into the health inspector's office or whatever when he's out of the office or whatever. And they steal the health inspector's things. And it was funny. They were successful, but they fall through the roof and they just leave. It's funny. I can't stress enough that you just go watch these. They're so good. It was a funny episode. And in the number 1 position, we have... I don't have the title here, but I remember what it was. The Holiday Special. This is incredibly good. This is my favorite. I didn't expect it to be my favorite. On rewatch, it was good. It was one of the longer French with Fred episodes. I think it was like 5 minutes. And it was really funny. I was laughing like consistently watching it. It caught me off guard how good it was. In this one, Fred and Assistant open up the refrigerator for whatever reason, and it's just a portal to a Christmas dimension. Because, of course it is. Before I get any farther, I want to mention that the Christmas intro, like, they do a remix of... No, like, the intro has this Christmas remix in it, and it's kind of a banger. Take a listen. But regardless, it's just funny. They go to the North Pole or whatever the heck, and the elf is like, guys, get in the kitchen. You're Santa's chefs. Go make gingerbread men. And then they do that, and then he comes in, and he's like, all right, we need Santa's magic powder. Have you guys seen it? And Assistant's like, oh, yes, here it is. But they mixed up the cinnamon and the magic powder. But we never see what happens with Santa using cinnamon instead of magic powder. But when they put magic powder or whatever the heck in the gingerbread mix, there's a giant gingerbread man, and he just destroys everything, and it's kind of funny. And yeah, it's just it's a really solid French with Fred episode. But another thing I wanted to mention was whenever assistant says cinnamon, he says it twice, and it's funny. The first time he's like, cinnamon, and it was really funny. And then the other time he's like, cinnamon. It was funny. It was funny. Okay, watch it, please. And this is the only episode I watched them. This is the only episode where Fred treats assistant kind of poorly. I feel like I remembered him not treating him the best. But he throws him into the portal, and then I think he yells at him at one point. I forgot already. I wanted to do this while it's fresh in my mind, and I already forgot some of what I watched. And I wasn't a fan of that, but he does make up for it by giving him a hat at the end of the episode. But that was the other part where he was mean. He was like, yeah, you can wear it, but only at home, alone, in the dark. You can't wear it on the show. And that was weirdly mean, but he did give him a gift, and that was pretty cool. And overall, that's my favorite, French with Fred. Overall, I'm surprised at how much I didn't like French with Fred. I know it's really solid and still really good, and I did enjoy just about every episode I watched, aside from Evil Fred, that was actually garbage. But it wasn't as good as I remember it being. But then the standout episodes were, standout episodes. They were incredibly funny and hold up to, not kid content standards, which is a lot, a rarity for a lot of Stick Boss Central things, in the modern age with my sophisticated 16-year-old taste. Overall, very good stuff. I'd be more than interested in ranking another series. I think I'd like to do Stickcraft next, maybe Dino Planet. I could do Off the Grid or the Stickbot Show, but there's so many episodes, it would have to be a collaborative effort. If any Sticktubers out there want to help me with that, guys, hit me up. You got my Discord. But yeah, that's my ranking for French with Fred. Hope you guys enjoyed my ranking. If you're interested in joining my Discord server, following any of my socials, those links will, of course, be in the description. Keep on honking my goose damn sandwiches, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.